All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Italy Jet post-game show with one of my co-hosts, Harrison Glazer. Italy Jet here. Uh, I think we can all speak for my tone and Harrison's tone. We lost against the Patriots. Uh, it- yeah, Harrison, let's get into this. What do you what? Let's start with we sold out this game, right? Sold out this game. And the fans really got nothing until the fourth quarter, in my opinion. What do you how do you feel for the fans for this game?
Well, we're one of the fans. I'm one of the men, and it was rough. I mean, it was. I imagine going to the game even rougher, and that's kind of your point. I mean, Salah made a big point, before the game, in the pressers, earlier. I think it was on Friday, I believe. Saying he wants all the people in there before the game, and it was
Right.
packed out. Quinnen Williams made a statement of it at the end of the game, saying, shout out to the Jet fans. They were making a lot of noise. He said they were making a lot of noise throughout the game. We know that's not true. And again, it's because of the bad things we saw. We can't blame that. I mean, at least we didn't see boos. That's a big thing. There weren't boos, which could have
Mm.
happened. There just weren't as many cheers. We didn't really hear that as much. But man, the biggest story to obviously talk about is Zach Wilson. That's the
Yes.
story that needs to be addressed. That's the obvious elephant in the room. So that's definitely where we need to start the conversation. If you don't mind, I'd love to take it off.
Go take it off, buddy.
So you guys know I've always been a really, really big Zach Wilson fan, but anybody can see if you watch this game, anybody with eyes can see he didn't play well. He played a bad game. It'd be crazy for anyone to say he didn't. He played a very, you could say, awful game. Zach Wilson played an awful game. And he made a lot of really bad decisions, a lot of really bad reads, and a lot of really bad throws. We do have to remember all the things again that Zach Wilson, as we've heard, earlier in the season, like Salah's pointed out, he's a quarterback only really with a full season now about under his belt. He, through missing time and stuff, is really, for the most part, only, he's played a good amount of games now and he's won those games. But with those first few games we looked at, he didn't have huge games. Remember, we talked about it. I was like, yeah, we'd love for him to develop and be great and be making unbelievable throws immediately, have 400 plus, four, 3, 4 plus touchdowns a game. But, everyone develops differently. The offense was leaning heavily on the running game. He didn't need to put a lot on his back, and we were winning, which is what mattered. When you win, that's all you care about. The W is a W. And again, we
Mm-hmm.
talked about with Zach Wilson in those games that he wasn't putting up big, great yardage, but he also wasn't playing badly. He wasn't making bad decisions. Today he did. So again, you can't defend it. Zach Wilson was absolutely bad in today's game. The question needs to be why. That needs to be what needs to be figured out. And it was perfect in the way they asked Robert Saleh after the game about Zach Wilson's play. And if, I'm going to bring it up right here, they asked him if he was having if it looked like he was having a hard time throwing it, especially on those interceptions. Saleh basically said, we have to figure it out. We have to figure this out. And when they asked him more about Zach Wilson, he said he's got to play better and we've got to find ways to help him. So he wasn't good. He made some really, really bad decisions. 3 really bad interceptions. That first one, granted, again, when I watched it, I was like, yes, there was a defender in his face. Yes, he was throwing off his back foot, which he really shouldn't be doing. But I feel like a big thing with Zach Wilson is he tries to make things happen. That's what we saw in college from him. And that is what I liked with one of the things I liked from him, that he falls out of the pocket, those off-schedule things that we've talked about, and he tries to make things happen. I think a big important thing that needs to be mentioned, and Robert, I bring all the press conferences to you guys. I think I remember
Right.
exactly when Robert Saleh brought this one up, but in all the questioning about Zach Wilson over the last few weeks, he finally mentioned how, when you play in college, your window of separation, the target you have is much wider than in the NFL. He said in college, maybe it's at most, a couple of 6 inches to a foot. He said in the NFL level, he literally was standing on top of the podium. It's like from me to the podium. That's it. That's your margin of error that you have at the NFL level. And we talked about that. Not everyone adjusts at the same speed. Not everyone gets there. But this was a bad game. This was a bad game with bad reads, making bad decisions, and the defense played really well. The defense played really well and kept us in this game, even considering all the turnovers. We had a chance at the end, considering all of that. Zach Wilson is what lost the game. And we do have to, again, come at the fact that, like we said, he's a very young quarterback. So many people are going to be turning around right now and saying, well, that's it. It's over. Zach Wilson can't be the guy. That's not what this means. It was a bad game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. This was a horrendous game. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of Zach Wilson. I believe that this kid has the intangibles that I look for to develop to the next level. But all quarterbacks have bad games. And we do have to remember this was against the second best passing defense in the NFL. Robert Saleh pointed out just last week that, Zach Wilson, you want him to do, and we talked about it, that you want him to do those off schedule things. But, the coverage has been very sticky. He's been constantly under duress, which the pressure wasn't as bad this game. It was there. But again, it was more bad. You can't argue it. Zach Wilson made bad decisions. Even when he had timing, he made bad reads. He forced throws. He tried to make things happen, but they were bad decisions. Like we said, that first interception, he shouldn't be throwing it off of his back foot. He was trying to throw it over a defender. Clearly, he sailed it. It turned into a pick. That one on the sideline, I thought the guy was out of bounds. I'll be honest, Saleh said the same thing in his presser, that he doesn't understand why the guy wasn't called out of bounds. But still, if you're throwing it out, that's not throwing it out. And I pointed that out on Twitter as well. If you're trying to throw it out of bounds, that's not throwing it out of bounds. You have to put it into the second row if you have to. Like, throw it
out of bounds.
For a sec. Oh, we're still here.
But I think
you throw it out of bounds. That was a bad decision. And then the third one, but he did make good plays as well, right? Garrett Wilson, we have to remember, Garrett Wilson had over 100 yards receiving. He had his
Yeah, they're still there? Hello? You here? We're good? Basically, what I think he's trying to say is overall, it wasn't a good game by Zach, and there's still things that he needs to do, and I still think that he needs to do. Overall, it's just one of those things where it happened at a bad time. Bad time because we're going into Bills week. And for me, I'm at that point where I'm not going to call for his head yet still, because I think we just continue to need to open up a playbook in my opinion. Vinny says Zach fucking sucks. I want him gone. Hey man, you're entitled to your own opinion, and I respect your respect your opinion. He hasn't shown progress in 2 years. Okay, hey, like I said, that is your opinion. I think overall what we saw today is he still needs to continue to work, because this is just really interesting. Hey, buddy, you good?
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened either.
I think my internet is having a Zach Wilson kind of day. My internet just crapped out on me. Like, I don't know what was going on. We were talking and it just just nothing. What was the last thing you guys heard me saying? I think you lost me.
Go back to when Saleh at the press conference about the throw at the end, interception.
Yeah. So there were 2 bad interceptions by Zach Wilson. We mentioned the first one. Clearly, again, trying to make something happen. That's the biggest thing I liked about him, and a lot of people like about him. We talk about the out of the pocket, off script, trying to make things happen. I loved that at BYU. Like we mentioned, like we said, from prior press conferences, Saleh pointed out at the NFL, the margin of error is a lot smaller. He's trying to learn that. And we're watching that learning in the process. We've talked about with Zach Wilson, even in his rookie year, it's not always going to be pretty. We wanted to see that major, major jump, and we all did. I mean, like I mentioned, would I not want to see Zach Wilson throwing for 400 yards, 3-4 something touchdown, killing? Of course I would. But he's a young kid playing at the beginning of his career, and he had an awful game. We know that is a fact, an awful game. That first interception was really bad. That second one, again, Saleh said it himself, that, Saleh said, that he was out of bounds, and he thought he was out of bounds as well. But even so, that wasn't a throwaway. You don't throw it away, friggin' on the field to play to even allow something like that to even happen. Sail it. Send it into the friggin' second row if you need to. Like, throw it away. Like, what the hell? So that doesn't because you're out of the pocket already. So that was kind of crazy. That was bad. And then the third one was also, again, just trying the pattern of trying to make something happen when there's nothing there. The biggest thing we've seen from our quarterbacks in the past is not learning from prior mistakes. So that's going to be a big thing. I've mentioned on Twitter as well. How is Zach Wilson going to come back from this, right? Is he going to have a better game next week? Is he going to play better?
Right.
Again, I think it's still extremely too early to be saying that he's not the guy, and we're going to see that. You're going to see that, especially on social media, so many people saying that he's not the guy or he's a bust, or you're going to see the people coming out of the woodwork that have been quiet for a little while that are going to say, well, I always thought he was a bust. You haven't heard from me, but I always thought he was a bust, and here's your proof. You're going to see that. It's still too early. The sample size is too small. It's still too early. The development and the learning can happen. But again, did he have a bad game? Without question. Don't think I'm up here defending the kid. He made some really bad plays. The weird thing, though, again, was the bad dwarfed the good by so much. He did actually have a pretty decent game when you look at the fact that Garrett Wilson had 115 yards. It was his second 100-plus yard receiving game. And Tyler Conklin had his biggest game as a Jet, 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Mims had 76 yards. So the receivers played well. He just made enough bad reads and bad throws and tried to do too much. And that is what killed it. And that's what everyone's going to remember. They're not going to remember that Garrett had 100-plus yards. And they're not going to remember that for those 2 drives when he got that touchdown. He looked damn good. They're going to remember all the constant mistakes, which they were. They were absolutely bad. Those mistakes were bad, without question. And you see that, just, pointing it out like, with people, in the chat. Vinny saying, Zach, you want him gone. You look at, he's a young kid, right? This is a young kid. He's in his second year. You want to see that major jump. And don't get me wrong, I would too. I would love to see that major jump in his second year.
Right.
But again, everyone develops differently. It's not to be said that he's not going to develop and going to be the guy and turn these things around. I get why everyone's frustrated. The frustration is the defense has been great. The receiving, everything is there except for Zach Wilson. And I will give you guys that. It definitely was a fact that in this game, Zach Wilson is what held this team back. Granted, the running game didn't do any favors, but other than the running game, than that, Zach Wilson is what held the team back. So I still believe in the kid. I still think that he can develop and be. He had a really bad game. Like we said, he absolutely had an absolutely horrible game, made really bad decisions, really bad reads. But like we said, he's still a young kid. He can totally learn from this. It's if we keep seeing these same things. If we see a game like we saw today, even though the Bills have a top pass defense as well, if we see it next week against the Bills, if we see it for following weeks, then we have a problem. Then we have to say, okay, there's an issue here. But it's only been one really bad game. The last games, he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't do a lot. Like we said, he didn't have huge games. He was playing top defenses. He played conservatively and smart. Today, he tried to do too much. And we saw what happened. We saw what happened when he tried to do too much. He made really bad plays and really bad decisions. I'm again hoping he's going to learn from this. As a young kid, he's 22 or 23. I know he's crazy young. He's very, very young kid.
I thought it was 23, but I'm going to look it up again.
Either way, he's a very, very young kid. He's only in his second year. And we've mentioned, with the injuries before, he really only up to
23. He's 23 years old.
And then only just a couple of weeks ago was the first time that he'd really played a full season. I didn't like what I saw either. And again, I was upset. You and me were talking about this earlier. The most upsetting thing about this game was Zach Wilson because he played really bad. And it was upsetting to watch because you believe this kid could be good with the right things around him. And the right things are around him. So I think it's going to change. I do. But we're going to need to, watch that from here. We're going to have to see how he turns it around. If he gets better. Again,
this guy.
Vinny says boo. Vinny says boo. Again, I look at it as, if this was like Sam Darnold, a quarterback in his fourth year, like with the Giants. I do my Wednesday New York sports podcast show. I talked to my friend Pierre. I said the Giants situation is very different. It's more like Sam Darnold. You have a quarterback in their fourth year where, like we said, it was shit or get off the pot time. Like we've seen quarterbacks, unfortunately, struggle through their first 2 years and then have a really great third year. I'm
Hey,
not saying I
Peyton
want
Manning.
that to happen. I mean, like, I got to say,
Peyton
I don't
Manning.
want that. Exactly. I don't want that to
Josh Allen.
happen. But the team is playing, the team is at a good point. So the one thing I would say, and this is absolute worst case scenario, the worst case scenario is if Zach continues to do bad things and make bad decisions and not develop. Well, our team has clearly shown us how talented they are. Our team has clearly shown us that they have everything in place except for the quarterback. So
Yeah.
I really don't think that's going to be the case. But if it was, you're in a position where you just need a quarterback. If you think about it, everything
yeah.
else, the receivers, the running game,
Fits.
even the line,
Yeah.
which is going to continue to develop with young pieces, the defense,
Yeah.
it's a young team that's built together. I think, again, like I mentioned, please don't think I'm saying that it's over for Zach, because you're going to hear that rhetoric. You're going to hear people saying that it's over, or he's always been a bust, or he's not that good.
Right.
I disagree. Again, he had a bad game. You can't argue that. He had a
Right.
very, very bad game. But quarterbacks have bad games. All quarterbacks have bad games. It could have been one or two bad decisions.
Harrison, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Get Jimmy G in 2023.
Oh
I'll be
my
one of
God.
the ones to say it. I'm a big quarterback guy. There's not just Zach. There's other quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I
me
mentioned it
too.
when he was wrong. 2018, my guy
Yeah.
was Lamar Jackson. I knew everyone was
me
everyone
too.
was gonna crap on me
Lamar
and be like,
Jackson,
"You're an
dude,
idiot." But
dude,
I
don't
wanted the
care.
Jets
I
to
was
be. I
that guy
wanted,
too.
yeah,
I
I
was that
wanted the
guy
Jets.
too.
Yeah, I wanted the Jets to be like Lamar Jackson and just surprise everybody in 2018. I was like, he could be the third overall pick. I wanted him as the third guy.
Can you close your eyes and
And
see
see.
him holding Lombardi?
So,
Be
Vinny, I
real.
would say, Vinny, I get the frustration. I get it. And I think the way you feel again is you feel it's a very talented team all around. This is a very
Right.
talented team, and Zach Wilson is the reason they played a bad game. He made the
Right.
bad reads and bad decisions and bad mistakes.
Right.
But again, he's a second-year guy. To say it's not going to happen from one game is crazy. I mean, the other games he played quality defenses. Arguably, this was his best defense yet. Because if I pointed it out earlier in the week, the Patriots have the second best passing defense in the entire NFL, and the Bills have the first. So Saleh said it just the other week, that if you thought Zach was, playing more conservative, don't expect that to change these next weeks. I guess he decided to put more on his back because the running game wasn't really there. And again, we saw what happened. The Patriots made it. That was a fact.
Yeah.
But again, the second best passing defense in the NFL, it's a learning experience. Like we said, if we continue to see these bad things, if we don't see learning, if we don't see progress, like we saw even those other games, they weren't bad. He was making smart decisions. We need to still see that. So Elmo's saying he's pissed off.
Hi, Elmo. I get it, Elmo.
Everyone's angry. It's clear they're angry at Zach Wilson. But again, we have to remember who he is. We have to remember that he's a second-year quarterback who's really, game-wise, only played one full season, and he's coming together. Even with a quality team around him, I think the point was everyone expected, because this team is so great, Zach Wilson will automatically be great. But and I still think he can be great, and I do think he will be, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately. Just because the team is great doesn't mean it's not going to take him a little more time. So Marmar says, at least we're back on Earth. Man, Zach had look at it this way. Zach had a really bad game, and we were still in this. He threw 3 interceptions, and our defense kept us in it to the point when he scored that touchdown at the end. There was a microcosm of a shot with the onside kick. So our defense has been amazing. So I wouldn't say back on Earth, because, again, that's why I think fans are so pissed. They're like, everything was great except for Zach's play. Like we said, Garrett had over 100 yards. Conklin had almost 80 and 2 touchdowns, which came from Zach. So again, the good is kind of overshadowed because the bad was so bad. The bad is why we lost. You talk about the JFM penalty as well. That was huge. I mean, instead of being 17-3, it's 10-6. That is especially because the Patriots get the ball in the second half. That's a major, talk about it. And I said on Twitter, talk about a momentum changer. That was the Jets were you saw how hyped they were when Carter got that touchdown. That was literally just took the wind out of all their sails. Just
for sure.
Killed it.
I'm typing what to say to Elmo and everybody.
He says his page is running very good with Zach. I would think it is, again, why do you feel like your patience is running thin with a quarterback that's only played 18 NFL games? Or what is it, 19? It's something in that range. I know it's definitely below 20. I'm not saying, again, I would love to see it too. I would love to see the unbelievable progression of him doing great. But this is, as we have to remember, the second best passing defense in the NFL. They're better than Denver was. They're better than the Steelers were. And the Bills, let's point it out right now. The Bills have the best, period. They have the best passing defense in the NFL. So I'm hoping next week we figure out what the hell's going on with the running game and we can get that running game going, because it's – I mean, it stinks that we lost, in where's Vinny's going? It stinks that we lost, in MetLife. I get it. It's very upsetting. But the way you have to look at it is we were 5-2. Right now we're 5-3, right? If we continue that for the rest of the season, we're 10-6. Right. Is anybody here upset with 10-6? I mean, it's a bad game. It's a really bad game. I get it. And
like I agree. Like
we definitely miss Corey Davis.
We miss Corey Davis.
I think Corey is so. I think we talked about it too. In the middle of the season, when everyone was like, Corey Davis is going to be traded, I was like, no. I was like, I think Salah's laughing at this. Like, I think Salah saw this and laughed. Like, he's like, there's no way, because Corey's a big part of this offense. He's not the wide receiver one. We know that. Garrett Wilson is definitely looking like it, man. Garrett's got his second 100-plus yard game. But, man, when Corey comes back, that's big. Mims had a good game. Mims had that really good catch. I know a lot of people gave him crap for not getting out of bounds. That definitely did help. But he took 2 nice hits and kept moving. I pointed out, I was thinking about it, the reason when we talked about it, the reason we're not really using Elijah Moore, and man, we got to talk about him too, because he said some shit. Dude. I got to give give whoever I think of, I don't know if it was Connor, whoever the SNY guy was, I got to give him credit, because right when the Jets lost and he saw that Elijah Moore had like no targets, he was like, someone find me Elijah Moore. I got to put a mic in his face and let him talk. That's exactly what he did. He's like, find me Elijah Moore. And he did. And Elijah Moore said some shit. Elijah Moore definitely said some shit. So that's some interesting stuff. Like, kudos to him for realizing that. Like, where's Elijah? Someone find him. Elijah, just say stuff.
Surprised he hasn't run out of the building yet, to be honest. Well, you know what? I'm going to give my take on Zach Wilson, too. I touched on it a little bit while you were gone, and show's going to come on in about 3 minutes, so we're good. What's up, Elmo? At this point, I'm trading Elijah. The coaching staff is done with him, and he's done with this team. You know what? Actually, I felt
that too.
Yeah. I'll touch on Zach and I'll touch on Elijah. I think for me, when it comes to Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore, there was something in the summer with them, but clearly the way LaFleur is game planning this, it's fell off drastically. I don't think there's any chemistry between them. I thought we would give the ball to him a little bit more, but we were more with Mims and Conklin and Wilson. And then we try to get the running game going. Carter's a very good running back, but he did pretty good, but he just did okay. He just did okay. And Robinson still knew the system, so it's going to take him some time. I still think he's going to do well with us. He had a couple good touches right in the hole, pounded it. It was really nice. But overall for Zach Wilson, it's tricky. There's people calling for his name, and then there's some people that are like, give it more time, right? For me, my wife has always told me be in the middle. Always play medium. And I'm like, I've never been that guy. I've always been either go hard or go low. And this time I think I'm just gonna go medium again. Like I really don't know.
It's
what
hard.
To expect.
No, it's
hard because
I get that.
Because here's the thing. Last season, he didn't do well in the beginning, and which is fine. He's a rookie. I totally understand. But then he got injured, but he bounced back really nice at the last 6 games. I saw a whole different Zach Wilson. I saw even a whole different guy from when he was at BYU, and I was like, okay, I'm excited about that. And then he did his world tour. Right, his world tour. Sorry, not a world tour. He did his United States tour. He went everywhere. He had connections with a lot of people. And then when it came to when he got injured and now coming back and he won a few games and then lost this one, it's like I'm seeing a totally different Zach Wilson. Like I'm seeing something that's not even he's not even. I just don't think he's there all the way, and I think a lot of it is for me. LaFleur's not opening up the playbook more. I want more out of that. I'm not saying he's a bad offensive coordinator. I love him, but I just want to see more. I want to open it up a little bit more. And honestly, it's bad. We miss AVT. Like AVT it's not good. Like that right side was awful.
Well,
Zach had to
AVT
scramble
and
so
Braceman.
much.
Losing both of those guys was massively huge.
Exactly. And now it's one of those things where now we have to figure that out on the right side. Like Herbig and Cedric I think there's going to be a trade. I really do think that we're going to trade for another old lineman. If we don't, I would be extremely surprised because we're coming off of what they did with James Robinson. So now I just think we need to get another old lineman in here. Lakin needs to play a little bit better. And also even Brown. It's like I understand that he's scrambling, he can't do nothing with that. But all these missed throws, he's playing like he's a rookie. And I know he's only played 18 games, and I get that. But like I'm not really calling for his head yet, but I am extremely frustrated. I am extremely frustrated with this situation because if we're the team that I know that we can be, we should have beat the Patriots. Like there's no way we have so much more talent than this. Like this is I understand injuries happen, and I know me and you talk about a lot about injuries, but I always believe that the guy is the next man up. It's got to be always next man up. It's like look what the Ravens done. Look what the Chiefs have done. They anytime they have an injury or someone leaves, it's always that next man up, and I feel like that needs to be addressed with this Jets organization. But not only that, Elijah Moore. I don't like the way he's handled his situation. He's a young kid. I get that. And I don't. I hate it. But at the same time, I mean, you can't really argue with him. I mean, he really hasn't been throwing the ball. He hasn't really been doing a lot with this. Like they're not giving him the opportunities. But then I'm going to go back on it a little bit too. I'm going to give you a 50-50 one. I kind of know where he's going with it, but it's extremely frustrating because I think he still needs time. But if you open up the playbook a little bit more, maybe we could. Because you saw how much we threw to Conklin today. 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's unbelievable. We finally got the tight end game going. But with Elijah Moore, I mean, we found some ways to get to Wilson. It's just what are we gonna do with Moore? Like, what is this gonna keep going? And also that press conference. Like, oh my God. After seeing that press conference, dude,
again, bro, that reporter, like, so genius for him to be like, okay, so the Jets lost and Moore didn't get any targets. Where's Elijah?
Dude, and he's just like, I don't know. I was just like, I don't know.
They found him. They put a mic in his face, and he said some shit.
I think in my personal opinion, I am a huge fan of Elijah Moore, and I always will be when it comes to his talents. But with his decision making up here, he's got a lot to learn. But for me, I just don't see how this is like how they can make up after this. I just don't. I hope it does so we can get things going and Zach can come back and bounce back against the Bills maybe, or maybe after the bye, maybe they just need a break and everything. But overall, it's really tough. This is really tough to deal with. All right, Show. We all know what you think about Zach Wilson. I'm gonna finish with Elijah Moore, and then and then we can say some stuff. But I think overall they did it for a specific reason, Harrison. Like we know, like they found him and he gave them everything, right? He gave them. I mean, even that press conference with Zach Wilson wasn't even having it. Like Zach Wilson was just frustrated. He said, "I don't look at stats. I don't look at any of that shit." Like he's already looking at the next game, which I totally understand, but. It's hard. It's just really hard dealing with it. Show, how you doing, man?
I've seen better days. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Oh
this is
but
before
we get to this, but before we get to the show, I think we can all. I know me and you have talked a little bit about Zach Wilson. What is your takes on Zach Wilson?
Being honest, guys, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. This is the reason why they were running the ball extremely heavy in the previous games. I think
Okay.
internally, they are afraid of what Zach truly is, and that's a struggling quarterback. I
Okay.
get he has an arm. I get he has an arm. I get that he can, use his legs from time to time. But
Hmm.
none of that matters if it's not clicking upstairs. And to me, I think that's what it is. I think he's still afraid.
Hmm.
I think he's kind of like confused at times. I think the game is. I literally said it right before the commentators. I told my family. I said it's like the game is too fast for him, and that was one of my fears when we drafted him. I didn't know
Okay.
much about Zach. I didn't know much about Zach Wilson in college until
Right.
the
Right.
media started talking about him. So once they did, I was like, okay, it's possible that this guy might be a Jet. And I start to look at his film, man, he does have
Right.
good traits about himself. I'm not saying he doesn't. It was
Right.
just that in college, I noticed that under pressure, he didn't perform well. And this is at a collegiate level. And we're starting to see
Fair.
that unfold. And being honest, it was like the same game plan that Belichick had last season was the exact same game plan this season. Put pressure on him. And he
Yeah.
folded every time they put pressure on him. It was the same result last year. I think the only difference is two things: is our defense is a lot better because if our defense was the same as last year, this would have been another
Mhm.
50-point game. It's just
Yeah.
the defense covered up a lot of BS on Zach's and the offense, et cetera, et cetera. But no,
Right.
I'm not surprised, guys. I'm not surprised. I think now majority of the fan base is clearly seeing what you and I have been talking about for several months now about I'm on the fence with Zach Wilson. And to be honest with you,
Yeah.
I'm actually off the fence with Zach Wilson at this point. He sucks.
Hmm. Okay. Well, hey, let's get to these comments real quick. Um, let's see. If you did trade Elijah Moore, what would you trade him for? Harrison, we'll
Yeah.
start with you. If
So
they
go
do it.
so going to the Elijah conversation, when he excuse me, when they interviewed him after the game, they asked him
Right.
about why he requested a trade. And you have to look at the way he answered these questions. He had a
Right.
massive attitude. He had a
Right.
massive attitude while he was answering these questions. He
Oh
goes, at the
yeah.
end of the day, man, this is like a legacy. He says he loves football a lot. Knows a lot of people love it too. Said there's a lot
Hmm.
going on behind the scenes on, that I'd rather keep
True.
inside. Led to the reason I reacted the way it is. He ended with it is what it is. But it was the next one that got me a little more because they asked him on if he still wanted to be here with the Jets. And he said, I'm here. And while I'm here, I want to do the best I can. He said a good answer. He's like, I want to help my teammates
Right.
out. I love all my
Right. Right.
brothers. I didn't get the
Right.
win today, but we're trying to focus on the next game. He said all the right things. But if you watch it and listen to it,
Yeah.
there was an
His body
attitude there.
language.
And he
His body
focused.
language.
He definitely emphasized while. He was like, I'm here, and while I'm here, I want to do the best I can. See, he emphasized, I felt that way, that it was kind of like, I'm here right now. So, I love all these guys. I want to do what it takes to win. I know what I'm supposed to say, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think he could hold it back anymore. They asked him on his last question to describe his chemistry with Zach Wilson
Right.
on the field. And he literally went, I can't.
Yeah,
He said, I
Yeah,
can't.
I can't. Right.
He's like, I don't even
Not
know.
that-
I couldn't even
It's not
tell
even
you.
there.
I don't
It's
get
not
the
even
ball.
there.
I don't know. So I was like, okay, there it
Right.
is. There's the Elijah Moore we were waiting for you to just come
Right.
out and reveal yourself right
Right.
there. So the attitude is obviously still there. I mean, he's not
Right.
happy that he's part of it. But
Right.
again, we saw today, show without going too into it. I gave my tag on Zach Wilson before. I do very much disagree. I'm not saying he didn't have a bad game. He had an awful game. He looked
Right.
absolutely terrible today. That's a fact. But I do disagree with the take on Zach. That being the case, you look at the passing game, there were positives there. Garrett Wilson had over 100 yards. Conklin, his second 100-yard game of the season as a rookie. Conklin had 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Mims had a huge game as well. So Mims played really well. And Elijah Moore wasn't really focused. He wasn't really part of it again. So, man, you look at the way he answered that. My total vibe when that press conference was done is that he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be here at all. He's accepted
Right.
that he doesn't want to be here. And that he's basically saying,
Yeah.
while I'm here, I'm going to say the company line and do the right things. But I
Yeah.
don't want to be here. That was 100% the vibe I got from him.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree with that. But we got a little fight going on in the chats. I kind of want to get into that because this sounds really juicy. Max Mitchell's coming back. I don't think we're trading for an O-line. You know, I actually
I was going to
disagree,
mention
Elmo.
that one. Yeah.
I actually disagree. I really do think we're gonna trade for O-line. JD has done it before. We always think he's not going to do something, but then he does it. I mean, look at the draft. Look at the offseason with Quan Alexander. Look with Brown. I think he is. I really do, because that right side is awful. So it's just I think he is. What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to my guy Harrison on the marriage.
Thank you,
Oh,
bro.
there you
Yes,
go.
man. I was intending to reach out
Congrats,
to you
brother.
Thank you, man.
on
Congrats,
social
brother.
media.
Thank you so
I was
much.
intending to reach out to you on social media, man. It's just I told Illy that my entire family is ill, and we're just like I'm like
Yeah,
the last one or next to the last one that's ill in the house. My wife is
gotcha.
typically the very last one. It's like
Yeah,
everybody else, me, myself, and then my wife. But yeah, man. Man, congratulations, dude. Like that
I
marriage
appreciate
and
that. Thank you so
and,
much,
and,
man.
and new life into this world is absolutely a beautiful thing. Absolutely. Um, will JD trade for an offensive lineman? Probably so. Probably
I
so.
think so. Yeah,
I think there's question marks on that offensive line. My opinion, Tomlinson hasn't really looked as good as I think we all hope. Is he horrible?
No.
No. Does he look like the Pro Bowler from San Francisco? No, he doesn't. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
is it possible that JD will make moves, man? Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Right.
So I'm going
And
to
Elijah,
surprise you guys. Yeah.
Oh
oh
no.
no,
Oh,
What
I was
I
going
was
to
what do
done.
you say? What
I
do
was
you
going to
say?
surprise you guys because I totally agree that Joe Douglas is a wheeler and dealer, man. I love Joe
Yes.
Douglas. It's one of the
Yes.
best things he does. He's amazing at not just trades and acquisitions, but
You never
re-signing
count him
players,
out.
the way he
Don't ever
strengthens
count
his
him out on anything.
contract. He's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying it for a while. I think Joe Douglas is a great GM. That being the
Right.
case, I think he just made his trade in James Robinson. Bringing him in was a really big move. I kind of got to agree with Elmo here. Man, Max Mitchell is a freaking hidden gem. Like Joe Douglas knew what he was doing in drafting this kid. Like I remember when we
Right.
drafted him, I looked up the numbers and I was like, I don't have him in front of me right now, but he had like a 90-something ranking for 2 years in a row. He was like the Sun Belt player of the year. I'm looking at these things and I'm
Right.
like, how the hell did he go in the 4th round? And
I
then I start to
agree.
research him further, and people are like, well, he could have went in the 2nd potentially. So I really like
Yeah.
Max, and man, we watch what he did. Freaking from day one, a guy that wasn't supposed to be out there, literally thrown
Right.
into the fire, not supposed to be playing, 4th round pick, playing against quality edge rushers and holding his own. I mean, we can't forget
Right.
in week 2, the only reason we won that game is because Max Mitchell had the game-winning block on Garrett
Yes.
Wilson, of all
Right.
people. Garrett,
Yes.
Miles Garrett. I was saying Garrett Wilson.
Miles Garrett. Mhm.
Right.
On
Right,
Miles
right.
Garrett, of all people.
Right.
He had the game-winning
Right.
block on Miles Garrett to allow Flacco to hit Garrett. It was Garrett Wilson, that's why. To allow Flacco to
Yeah.
hit Garrett Wilson in the end zone. Man, I can't wait for Max Mitchell to come back. I'm excited about him coming back. I like him and Nate Herbig potentially building some chemistry on that line. Because you guys remember,
Yeah.
my big take on the offensive line is I'm looking toward the future. We're building
Yes.
a team here. And the 3
Yeah.
staples and young guys that we have on this line that look great are AVT, who unfortunately we don't have right now, but Nate Herbig and Max Mitchell.
Right.
So I
Right.
really want to see Herbig and Mitchell start to gel next to each other. Hell, I say if Fant's ready, I don't even care. I want Max Mitchell back out there.
Facts.
And the way I look at it is you draft your left tackle of the future high
Yes.
in next year's draft,
Mhm.
and AVT plugs in at left guard
Agreed.
because Lincoln
Yes.
hasn't been pulling
Yes.
his own.
Facts.
That's my
Facts.
big take.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then
mean,
that
I
offensive
agree.
line is beautiful.
No, I
Well
agree.
said. Well said, Harrison. Well said.
And then Abby is saying stuff after we would have to add a player like Mims, for example, with him. I don't really know if I agree with that, but Elijah Moore by himself would be worth a 4th, maybe a
She's
5th.
right. He's not. Yeah, no, she's
I
right.
mean, yeah, no, I agree with that, Abby. I think he is worth. I think he's because of the. He's a top talent that's worth a 1st round, but because of what's been happening lately, I would be surprised if we even get a 3rd, 4th, 5th rounder for him. Honestly,
Yeah. And not
But
even
that's
just
not-
that; it's
yeah.
all because of potential. That was a big thing I said
Exactly.
with Elijah Moore too.
Yes.
With
Mhm.
Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh were saying trading him isn't an option, which
Right.
I do think they want him to be a part of it. But what they're
Right.
not saying is that it really isn't an option because they can't. Because Elijah Moore has only had one decent year. He was the 34th overall pick last year. That's basically like a first-round pick. Nobody's offering anything remotely close to that for a guy that's all potential. He's all hype right now. There's nothing proven there. I mean, we've seen wide receivers with loud mouths before go for third-round picks that are proven. He's not proven. So I think Joe's not going to get anywhere close to what he was considered fair for last year's 34th overall pick. And I think that's the biggest reason he's still here. Because I think if someone called Joe right now and offered him a first or even like a 40th overall pick, I think he would take that. Yeah. Elijah Moore, that way. There's the door. You're gone.
Yes.
No one's offering it.
Agree. I mean, and then what Elmo is saying, it's clear as day the coaching staff prefers Garrett over Elijah, which I think it's true now.
Now that I keep Corey and Mims over Elijah now. I'd go that far.
And dude, I've seen Jeff Smith and Ty Johnson a little bit out there more. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why am I seeing these dudes out here? Where's Elijah Moore? Where's Berrios? It's like, okay, well, if you prefer those guys, why is he still here? It's like Bryce Hall. It's like, what are you going to do with that? I don't know, man. What are we going to do?
Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day, though, right?
Well, I see Abby in the chat, defending Zach Wilson a bit. She makes good points, that we are playing quality teams. And he did have a horrible game. That's a fact. Right. But like we talked about, he's playing top defenses. Patriots are the second best passing defense in the NFL. And it ain't getting better next week with the Bills with another excellent coaching staff and the best passing defense in the NFL. So it sucks. It was a bad game, but my whole take was, again, it's too early to call that yet. If he continues to make those same mistakes and he doesn't learn, then that's something. But he's a young kid. He's still young. I don't know. I still think
my wife was, she knows how I feel about Zach, right? Yeah. So at the beginning of the game, the first thing I said was either he's going to win the game for us or he's going to lose the game for us. There was no in between because he didn't have the AVTs of the world and the Bryce Halls to hide behind, right?
Right.
And my wife, she was pretty much like Abby. She was like, well, he's young, and she was giving a lot of good pointers. I said, I get it. I said, I'm a 42-year-old man. Man, I've seen a lot of football in my life, and I know what a crappy quarterback look like. I know what a great quarterback looks like. Now, my question to you guys is this.
Yeah.
The Jets defense is better than the Patriots, right? Would you guys say? Would you take the Jets?
You mean the Jets defense or the Patriots defense?
Yes. The Jets defense is better than the Patriots defense, right? This year.
Statistically, unfortunately, the Patriots are ranked higher, but I would take the Jets defense.
Yeah, me too.
Right. But
statistically, everyone disagrees with us.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I couldn't understand. I can't understand. But my point is, why is it that Mac Jones didn't throw 3 interceptions versus Zach?
Mac Jones didn't look good either. And I do agree. And that's an important thing. I do agree, Show. And you have to say, Zach did not have a good game. It would be crazy for anybody to come forward. And if you say to say Zach, well, he had a bad game. And that was the first thing we talked about. I said, Zach was absolutely awful. He made really bad reads, really bad decisions, and really bad throws. But we went through each of the throws and talked about, again, why it's a lot of him putting it on his own back. He's trying. That was the biggest thing we saw from college from him. Everyone talks about that's what they love from him. His ability to go out of the pocket, go off the script, and put it on himself and make big plays. We talked about how the windows in the NFL are a lot smaller. I think he's learning, and he's trying to do too much, and he's making mistakes. I saw that in the Steeler game when he fell out of the pocket and tried to do his best Patrick Mahomes impression and almost threw a pick. It didn't work, but it doesn't mean it's not going to work. I feel like all the intangibles are there. Again, I feel like it's crazy to say that he had a good game, and it's crazy to say that he's going to be great. But at the same time, I think it's also crazy to say he's a bust already, or he can't be the guy.
I'm on the bus and saying that he's a bust.
There you go, Show. There you go, Show.
I'm sorry, man. What's up, Mr. Elmo? What's up, Elmo? Right?
Here,
but no, the reason I'm saying it, guys, is because I don't see any growth in Zach. The same way he looked today is the same way he looked last year. You know what I mean? Like the same exact guy. I really don't see any growth. He's still missing easy layup passes. He's
we
still
did talk
under
about the
overthrow.
growth of falling out of the pocket and trying to make more. I don't know. I mean, I get he's still making bad mistakes. That is a problem. I feel like I'm seeing growth. It's just he's still making mistakes. will those change?
I agree.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
I agree, Elmo.
Think about that. Let that sink in. Your organization is afraid of their number 2 pick.
They are. They are. I
Like I
agree.
said, I'm not going to make. I mean, from what I've seen, I'm not happy with Zach. But overall, I'm still going to make my judgment by the end of the season or after the bye because it's Buffalo week. We should have won today, and
Oh my God.
and a bye can really change things. Like you can get some players back. You can have a reset, and plus the trade deadline ends Tuesday, so you just never know. Let's see. Here we go. Most of us knew when Hall went down, Zach would be exposed. Um, I think there's a little bit of truth to that because Hall was very explosive. He carried a lot of our offense. We just played to people's weaknesses, and that's why we've been running the ball a lot. And a lot of people don't have a good running, like they can't defend the running game a lot. So, what do you think, Harrison?
Well, I think it's the best way to look at it. And we're going to see this probably from everybody. We're going to see people coming from two ends of the spectrum.
Right.
We're going to see
Right.
people feeling like Zach could have been the guy, and the intangibles are there, and he's a young kid developing. Or we're going to see the people that felt that he was never had what needed to be the case, and he could never be an NFL quarterback. So when you're coming at it from two different sides, those people
Right.
coming at it from that side are saying, "Well, we're just seeing what we always expected." Right? We're seeing what we always expected. That's never going to change. He's going to stay bad. And then from the other side, people are saying, that he can develop and he's a young quarterback. It's honestly, it comes down to him, right? That's the honest answer. We don't know, right? It comes down to how Zach can develop. I think it's too far to say any extremes yet. That's kind of how I feel on it. Again, being a young kid, I want to see this develop. I don't want to, if we again see a game like we saw today against the Bills next week and then another week, then yeah, you got to say something's wrong here. There's clearly something wrong. There's a huge problem. Like, sound the alarms. But it's kind of like what Salah said in the past. Like he summed up Zach's games, how he's constantly under duress, how your coverage has been really sticky. They're playing top defenses. He said, is Zach playing well? He's not, but it wasn't something to sound the alarm on. Today is maybe leaning toward that, but we shouldn't be sounding the alarm yet. Is maybe the way to put it.
Basically, the whole fight in this chat with Abby, Elmo, and Steele, and maybe Marmar. I'm not really for sure. I'm still trying to catch up with all the comments. So if I got that wrong, let me know. Is that it wasn't Zach Wilson's fault today, and people are saying that it is.
Well, I disagree. That's the thing. If
I got that wrong in the chat, so let me know. But it's one of those things where this comment's quite interesting to me. We scratch our head at all the excuses fans like to give Zach Wilson. Here's a sign: Zach is a below-average quarterback. I think if he continues to go like this, then maybe. Like I said, I told Harrison show. I've been telling Harrison I'm going medium. My wife tells me go medium. I'm just going to go medium today because tomorrow's a new day. I want to see what Joe Douglas does on Tuesday in the bye week. So.
Well, think of it this way. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Zach came out next week and absolutely balled out, aren't people going to say that, oh, we always expected him to be this guy? It's because he's so young and we don't know. He's still developing into what he can potentially be. That was the big thing before, and that's been my huge take. Everyone develops differently. Yes, we'd love him to be great immediately, and because this team is great around him, I think that was the conception. We all just assumed because everything is great around him, he will also be great, that he will automatically elevate to the level we want him to. The said answer may be that he's not that he's not going to get there, but it may take longer than we thought it was going to take. That may be part of the answer as well. So I just think we don't know. I still, again, feel what I saw in the past led me feel in college that he had everything I wanted to see. But then, like you said, we've seen games that he's played at the NFL level where he's done things that we don't want to see. So he has to learn from them. He's like Salah's pointed out, all those things, learning tighter windows, making better decisions. We've seen quarterbacks go from playing really bad to really well, take some time. Like I mentioned before, we don't hope this isn't the case, but we've seen quarterbacks stink for their first 2 years and then step it up and be great in their third. I hope that's not the case. That's not what I want, but I just feel like we don't know. I try to, again, remain more hopeful because I like what I've seen in him in the past, but I do feel and I understand the people coming from not liking what they saw originally, feeling that we're just seeing what we always expected to see. I understand that.
I couldn't agree more. What do you? I know, show what you think, and you're solid too. I'm just gonna put it out there, like you guys are all entitled to your own opinions. I
Right,
know
right,
everything with
absolutely.
what's been going on. I'm not gonna judge, but it's definitely frustrating because I'm only frustrated because we lost against the Patriots. I'm gonna be honest. It that
That's a portion of it. Yeah.
I have had a rich history with the Patriots because my
Mhm.
dad was working for the Rams when that whole scandal went down in St. Louis with the walkthrough with the video guy. So I was kind of there for that, going into of what was going on. So I have a hatred that goes back to when I was a kid. So it's still I just can't let it go.
There,
But
there
yeah,
aren't many things in life that I hate, but
yeah,
the few that I do, the
exactly.
Patriots would be number one. Um,
Yes. Here,
but
Elmo's
no,
got a
man.
good point
Listen,
here.
listen.
Go
I
for it.
want Zach to. I want Zach to be the guy, man. I'm not
I
saying
agree.
that I don't
Yeah.
want him to be the guy. I would
No, I
love
get
for
it. I get it.
Zach to.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love for Zach to come out and like ball out, dude. Like I'm like, hey, man. Like if you're winning and you're helping the team win, dude, I absolutely love you. On the
Yeah.
side, on another spectrum of that, if you're a guy who wants
Right.
out Jamal Adams, Elijah Moore, I'm
He
sorry,
did.
guys. I'm
Yeah.
kind of cutthroat when it comes to that. I want you to f
Exactly.
out, like get the
I
fuck
understand
out. I
that.
don't want you on
I
the.
understand
We
that.
struggle so long as Jets fans, man. Like we don't need that cancer in our locker room. We were on a winning
Agreed.
streak, dude, and you come out publicly and say you want to trade, like. I like guys like that, dude. I don't want you on this team. Period. Now, as far as Zach, I think Zach is a very professional guy far as how he
Yeah.
handles the media. He's
Right.
a pretty
Right.
intelligent guy, so I
Hmm.
love him from that. My concerns, in being honest, it's not Zach's physical attributes that I don't like. I
Right.
love his physical attributes, man.
Right.
It's something up here that's not clicking. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure the coaches are telling him, man, like, hey, man, stop dropping back 10, 15 yards,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and doing too much, dude, and just throw it away. If it's not, what you have, like 3 seconds before pressure technically should be in your face, you're stretching it out
Right.
to 5 seconds. At that point, let the ball go instead of stretching it out to 7, 8, 9. And every time he does that, man, he's still simply just throwing the ball away. Excuse my language, guys. That shit drives me bananas, and he's
Hey, I'm
constantly
with you.
doing it. And those are the things that I don't like about Mr. Zach. And if you see pressure coming to you, instead of trying to force the pass, man, just literally just ground the ball, dude. Ground the ball in the receiver's direction. You know what I mean? You don't have to force the pass. You don't have to force the play. These are the things that drive me up the wall when it comes to Zach. And what irritates me even more is I understand, last season, yes, I understand. He should that's something a rookie should and will do. I get it. But you're in the middle of your second season, and I know from a game standpoint, he still just came out of his complete rookie season from a number
Yeah.
standpoint. But you're
Yes.
in year
Exactly.
two.
And injury.
You're
And
in
two injuries.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But you're in year two. You've had time to reflect. You've had time to study. You've had time to talk to your coaches, train with your coaches, gel with your players, right? And you're still making the same mistakes, man. Like
Yeah.
when I saw this game today, I was like, you know what? That he proved me right, man. I said,
Yeah.
being honest, on my sheets today, I picked New England, and the only reason I picked New England is because I didn't have confidence in Zach.
Well,
Period.
sure. Let me
Hey.
let me ask you this. Like I would say, so
Okay.
Go for it.
without
Go for it.
question, he was bad in this game. He made
Mhm.
good plays and had a couple of good plays. He played well at points, but it was overshadowed by the awful decisions, the bad plays,
Yeah.
the bad interceptions. When was the last game you remember that Zach played where it was that specifically, where it was all because of him that we lost, and he threw a lot of interceptions and made a lot of bad decisions?
Right.
I think the last game where
It's
Zach
probably
really didn't have.
decently a little while back, and there's probably only one or two you can maybe think of.
Right.
Well, the
I
game
would
that stands
bet.
out to me, that made me say like, okay, guy, like Marcus, hush up. This guy may be special, right? And that was the
You're
Tampa
right.
Bay,
Right.
and
I'm with you.
that was the Tampa Bay game last season when Zach played against Tampa Bay. He played
Yes.
like a true NFL quarterback. I was like, okay,
Yes.
Zach, you've won me
Yes.
over so far, man. You know what I mean? So last season he closed it out, man, looking sharp. I was hoping that he wasn't happy feet, he wasn't
And I
dancing
get
all
you,
over the
yeah.
places.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
get
he
that.
knew the plays. It's like he knew where his guys were supposed to be. You could see him making his reads. You could see him going through his progressions. I'm like, okay, okay. Like, and we almost won that game literally because of Zach. So
Mhm.
that's what kept me on the fence with this guy. I had like two Zach Wilsons last year, man, and now this year coming into it, I said, okay, we have,
Right.
we look pretty good, on this Jets team, man. And when Zach comes
Mhm.
back, man, we should just, if he played like anything remotely close to last season, man, we should just like shoot through the roof with this talent.
I agree.
And man, I mean, don't get me wrong. That last drive against the Steelers, man, he looked lights out. He was lights out. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I'm a guy that gives
Yeah.
credit where credit is due. I'm also going
Right.
to be a guy that critiques the hell out of you when I see, inconsistencies and
Right.
like I
I
always say,
get that. I
bonehead
get that.
plays.
Yeah.
You know
For
what
sure.
I mean?
For sure.
I get
For
that,
sure.
yeah. But if I may, that's kind of like the point I'm going at with Zach being so, like you
Mhm.
said, you think about how many games were like this, where he threw tons of bad plays and tons of literally lost the game because of himself. Everything
Right.
else was great, and he lost it single-handedly.
Mhm.
I can't really remember any other games like that. Maybe one. There,
Mm.
like with any young quarterback, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be good,
Right.
there's going to be bad. I feel like
Right.
we haven't seen enough really bad to be at the point where, oh my God, sound the alarms and abandon ship. I feel like quarterbacks have games like this. It sucks,
Right.
especially when you play a top passing defense. And I guess, again, and people say, I want to point out one of the last things that Robert Saleh said, because they asked him about Zach Wilson losing his confidence. And,
Yeah.
where is he? Right here, he says, we can't let Zach Wilson lose his confidence. We've got to do a better job. We've got to figure out a way to help him. Football's hard enough, but self-inflicted mistakes make it literally impossible. But he said, Zach, he's going to figure it out. He's going to be fine. He insinuated this kid's got great confidence. And I think that's what it was. He just kept coming out and trying to make more shit happen. Most quarterbacks, like you're right, would become more conservative. He didn't. He kept trying to put it on himself and trying to be that guy, and it just compounded so badly. So I think games like that are going to happen. Again, I look at it hoping it's a learning experience. But again, I figure, young quarterbacks are going to be good. They're going to be bad. They're going to win some. They're going to lose some.
Right.
You want them to be great all the time and immediately be great, but it unfortunately just doesn't happen that way. I feel like,
Right.
again, like we said with today's game, we just haven't seen enough awfulness where, like, I'd be like, this can't be the guy.
I understand that for sure. I'm with you on that. I'm
I'm,
with you on
I'm
both
going
your
to say,
comments.
I'm gonna say this, guys. I didn't want Zach Wilson. I wanted Justin Fields. With that being said, I feel
That's
like
right,
if
I
we
was
had
the
Justin, I feel
Hey,
like if we had
I'm with you.
if we had Justin Fields on this team with this roster, it would be a lot better. I'm being honest.
Hey.
I think Justin Fields will take us further than Zach Wilson, at least at this point. We never know what may
Yes.
happen, in season 3, with either one of the guys. But if I'm just
Mhm.
judging both of these guys right now, man, I'm taking
Yes.
Justin Fields without even thinking about it. This guy has way less talent on the offensive side of the ball in Justin Fields than a Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson has talent around talent around talent around him with the
Right.
Jets. And if you switch roles, in my opinion, Justin Fields will shine extremely well. I mean, look how he played against the Patriots on Monday night. You know what I mean? And who was his wide receivers? Man, he has Mooney. Mooney
Yeah.
on any other team would probably
Matt
be the third wide receiver.
Perry.
You know what I mean? And this
Yeah,
guy
I
is
get
literally working with a bunch of nothing, man. So I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, Zach. At this point, Zach has to prove me wrong, and I'm okay with admitting that I'm wrong.
Here's one
I'm
thing I
okay
would
with
say.
that.
You look at Justin Fields, he's played an entire season so far, and he has just
Right.
about 1,200 yards. Zach
Mhm.
Wilson has played only half a season, maybe, and he has just as many yards. So he did have 3 interceptions today. It was really bad. But if I were to tell you a young quarterback in his second year against the second best passing defense in the NFL had
Right.
355 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. And he had receivers like Garrett Wilson that put up over 100 yards. Conklin
Right.
had basically 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mims had a big game.
Facts. Facts.
It felt, and again, I can't stress enough, Zach had a bad game. He really did. But if you look at
Right.
what was there, it's almost like it could have been a good game if it went differently, if he'd made some
Right.
better decisions or just not done this. Like we talked about, like that first interception, clearly he tried to throw it off of his back foot. He tried to make something happen. The defender was in his face. So he sailed it. Bad decision. That second one, That guy was totally out of bounds. Salah basically said the same thing. I don't know what the hell the rest were talking about. But even still, when you throw it away, you don't throw it that short. You got to really throw it the hell away.
Mm-hmm.
So they're mistakes, but they're learning things. You know what I mean? There are things that, okay. So that's why I feel like, again, if he continues to come out and has Sam Darnold syndrome, and he continues to do the same shitty things over and over and over, then I would agree. But I feel like I'm not even close to that point yet for the reasons I felt. I felt like it was a bad game, but like Salah said, we want this kid to keep his confidence because we feel like he has a really high potential.
And overall, I know me and Harrison were talking about this show. I just want to let you know we wanted Lamar Jackson. And I wanted Justin Fields over
If I got
Sam
all
Darnold
my dreams,
and BYU.
I wanted Dak Prescott years ago. I told everybody that whole class.
Okay, that one I can't agree with you on.
The who Jared Goff, freaking Goff, Wentz, and Paxton Lynch. I was like, this is the who's who of shittiest top quarterbacks in the history of a draft. I was like, literally that year in 2016, I was like, screw all those guys. Take Dak Prescott. Everyone's like, you're out of your freaking mind. So,
Listen,
I would have had Dak back then, and then I would have had Lamar too. So,
listen,
I also told the Eagles that they had their guy in Jalen Hurts when they took him. I said he'd be the starter. I was like, Hurts is your starter. Wentz is a freaking joke, and you're going to see it. Remember, back in 2020, I said, you can see it. I actually put it out. I said, hot take, beginning of the season. Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback by the end of the year. And everyone's like, you're out of your mind.
I like Sounders
Everyone's like, you're such an idiot. And it was the case. And Jalen Hurts is amazing. Hurts is unbelievable.
Jalen Hurts is playing lights out right now, man. God.
But going to Steel Stone's comment, agree with Mitchell's good shows. It doesn't matter where you drafted. Honestly, I think it matters. Yes. If you get drafted in the later rounds, like sometimes you can come up big and sometimes you can't. I think the draft is only worth it from 1 to 4 rounds, 1 through 4. That's why I think the big gems are.
Unless you're Joe Douglas.
That's
every round
is
fair.
That's what he did. That's what he did. 1 through 4 rounds this year. I mean, that's where he got his talent. And then if we're gonna get an alignment, I want tons of. I want him. I don't want Conklin. I want this guy really bad. Like I think I almost right. That's just me though. Who would you guys want to do?
I think Mitchell's our future, man. I love the kid. I want to see him play immediately because I want him to gain more time. Like he's shown unbelievable things in such a short sample size already as a 4th-round pick. I think Nate Herbig looked really good too. Let the two of them continue to gain. Like you said, the right sides look like shit. Let Max and Herbig gain that chemistry and step that right side of the offensive line up. Then Dwayne Brown and Lakin, those are 2 guys next year you can move on from potentially.
Exactly. I agree with you. And here comes, come on, guys, let's stop with the Zach excuses. I just think and also with this one, fans give Zach negative energy. Mims and Moore can't help him out. Imagine if these two played with their potential. I know we've already touched a lot on Zach Wilson already, but I'm just gonna say this before we move on. We're looking at it from both sides of what he's done and both sides of the ball. That's all we're saying. So you either agree or you disagree, and it is a team game, Abby. I agree with you on that one. But here's the thing: how many passes, TDs have Zach thrown in the stretch? I actually don't know. Do you guys know how many TDs he's thrown passing down the stretch?
In the stretch since he's come back?
Yes.
Let me see. I can look it up right now. He's played since the second. He has 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But 3 of those interceptions came in today's game. So originally it was but then he got 2 touchdowns today. So
I agree. And then this one we lost because the pick 6 got called back. I think it's one of them. I don't think it's
missed field goal.
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, 17 we did 10-6 going into the half is huge. Like that's insane. Yeah. Especially with the Patriots getting the ball.
Though. Cool. If we didn't miss our field goal though, oh my gosh. I'm already on defense with Zerline anyway because of my history with him with the Rams, but like he's shown me good times and he's shown bad times. I just knew it wasn't going to be perfect. He was going to miss one eventually. And then Patriots defense is better because of Bell. Well, I mean, he was ready for us. We can agree with that. I mean, he was just ready. He broke a record today on how many career appearances for the NFL he's been in too. He was just ready. I mean, he was ready for us as a whole. So
let's take this in consideration too. He didn't have to plan for Breece Hall. Blitz Zach. That's what I would do. Breece Hall is out. I'm blitzing. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Michael Carter. I absolutely love him, but he's not Breece Hall. You know what I mean? So just hey, maybe 7 in the box instead of 8, and blitz heavy. Just watch Michael Carter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it
the
was an
show's
easy
right.
game
None of them
plan.
are Brees. The Brees
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
unbelievable. Like, even when we
yeah.
got
So
James Robinson, I was talking about
Reminds me
how
of
much I
Marshall
liked
Falk.
him, but I'm like, that's
Reminds me
not
of Marshall Falk. Brees
right,
Hall
he's not
reminds me
Brees.
of Marshall Falk.
Right.
Honestly.
So
I mean,
and
I did
let me
expect
say
more from the running game. It was Michael Carter and James Robinson were basically non-existent.
I
There was
agree.
no running
right.
game.
So but also let me say this, man. The football gods, they crapped on us, man. Like in
Oh, they
that Denver
crapped on us
game.
today. I even
You know,
prayed to them. I prayed to them before the game. I said, I will stop cussing if you just give me this win. Like, give me this win, and
right.
I'll stop.
I mean, I'm upset. Don't get me wrong. It's the Patriots. It sucks.
Oh,
We wanted
right.
to beat them at home.
Right.
But we do have to look at it as we did have 4 wins in a row. We're 5-3 right now.
Exactly.
If we keep that going, we wind up 10-6. That's double-digit wins. So it sucks. It's definitely a bad loss, but it was like when we lost ABT and Brees. Can we turn it around from here? Can we take this adversity and turn it into some W's? Even if we have trouble against Buffalo, I mean, can we continue to win the rest of the games after that?
And my thing is, you know, don't get me wrong. I hate that we lost to the Patriots, man. I absolutely hate it. I just didn't. My mind was like, I don't believe in Zach. I don't believe Zach. Prove me wrong, Zach. Right? If Zach had, if, let's say Zach could throw 1 interception, right, with the numbers that he had, and it's a completely different outlook on Zach. You know what I mean?
Kind of the point.
1 interception with
interceptions too, that they were.
Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, 300 plus yards, 1 interception, 2 TDs, and we lost. At that point, it's kind of like, you know, I can't complain about Zach at that point. I just freaking can't, man. But so the 3 interceptions and some of the, you know, extended plays that he loves to do, man, that you know, shit drives me bananas.
And this one got me today. Special teams was completely off, just like Abby and Marmar and Steele have said. Apparent soon, you know, man with this. I mean, the punts were awful, and like in that Zerline shouldn't make that anyway. This could have been close if Zerline would have made his kick. Honestly, this would have been closer than I think. But moving on to the next one, the Bills game went from could have been afraid to I mean, it did.
Do you mind, Gino, if you could throw up Mike's comment, because I think that is something I didn't mention, but that is a perfect point that he makes.
What, Mike
Koss makes an outstanding point saying that, you know,
I saw one of those points.
And Zach Wilson, had a bad game, but we were wanting him to stop being a game manager, right? We wanted him to put the game on his back.
Yeah.
And like we said, I mean, we have to take a little solace in the fact that he didn't get shaken. He kept his confidence up, and he kept trying to make the big throws and continuing to try and put it on his back. He did have a 300-plus, 355-yard game. I mean, that's what we wanted to see. So maybe, like we said, the answer is if he can clean it up and get better, people were like, oh, maybe he can only be a game manager. Well, he proved that's not the case. He can be a guy that can put it all on his back, but he has to learn the rights and the wrongs and the nuances and the windows of the NFL, and they're not there yet. Can they get there? And how long it's going to take is the million-dollar question. Again, it might be, unfortunately, another not great performance against the Bills. But what if after that game he starts killing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. And I agree with you as well. Let's see. And the Sunshiners. Yeah, I guess so. But like Sanchez was below our average or went 2 AFC championships with them. Yeah, but that was different. Rex Ryan, like Saleh and Ryan, I know people like compare to their coaching styles, you know, that they're similar. And, you know, we all know what Rex Ryan said. So it's like I mean, I love Sanchez, but also he did have some moments. But it's just there was a really good comment. I'm gonna pull it up in a few seconds. But I agree, he panics, goes way too fast.
I think
for him.
Saunders is saying right here, because he's a BYU fan, he saw exactly what I saw. That a big thing with Zach is he likes to make the big play. And I loved that about him. He said it's frustrating at BYU. I liked it because, again, as a BYU fan, you're watching it to win. I was looking at it from a quarterback evaluation perspective. And I'm like, this kid, he's checking everything I want, like the anticipation, the pocket awareness, to taking the big risks and making the big throws. And they were on target more often than not in college. The problem is at the NFL level, better corner play, tighter windows, better defenses.
Right.
It's different. It's very, very different. And he has to learn that. So I liked that about him. I do have to agree with what Saunders is saying, but I feel like we saw that again. Like that was the big thing I noticed when Zach started playing more this year. And we mentioned it a couple weeks back. I saw that when he was going out of the pocket, he wasn't rushing as much. He was resetting his feet, trying to make the throw. I think he's trying to stay in the pocket more. But this offensive line is not doing him any freaking favors. Like you guys know.
That's true.
So, I mean, if his mobility wasn't there, like we joked about the other weeks, if Flacco was out there, he'd have been sacked 1,000 times.
Yeah.
We would have been having a funeral for him at the end of the game.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and now, I guess his funeral has already been made because now White took his spot for the
Mike White's QB2.
And Strebler is the same way. He's going to be the third guy now. So, but this is the comment I wanted to get to the most. The Jets were out coached today. They were. Single-handedly, they were out coached today, and they won and they also won the field position as well. Like I agree 100% on that. And the Jets' run game was non-existent. We talked about that exactly. I mean, 3 bad plays, especially with the defense. Like, yeah, I'll get into that because I'm very mad about this one.
I feel like the defense. I mean, they made some not great plays, but we have to remember the fact that. We were at the end of this game, as bad as Zach was, and as many times as he turned the ball over, they kept us in this game. Like, they kept us in this game to the point where when he scored that touchdown at the end, we thought oh my God, maybe we can get that outside kickback. Maybe we still have a chance. The defense was really good, man. I mean, the problem was the offense did them no favors. Like, literally no favors. But at the end of the half, they literally Zach gave them the ball within, like, almost the red zone, and they held them to a field goal. So the defense was really good, like really good. The pass rush was outstanding. I put it out on Twitter. There were like 10 guys, like sound the list. Like everybody was eating today.
Even Clemens had a sack. Even Clemens had a sack.
I know, Shepard, everyone was back there.
Sacks.
It felt like there were 10 sacks, even though there were only like 5 or 6.
I'm serious. I predicted 10 sacks, but hey, maybe Zach can do this. Like I would be all for this. He needs to work with the footwork problems. I think that's accurate because he does have footwork problems, in my opinion. But
and how about Reed put Parker at the beginning of the game, man?
Yeah. Oh my God, I know.
Yeah, on that pass breakup, and I think he fell on Parker's knee or his ankle. Right. I was like, okay, this is taking one of the star players out. This is good for us, man.
Right.
I had no idea the game was going to turn out this way.
Hurt, but it was at least clean. It wasn't like a dirty. And that was the other thing. Like, how about the fact that Mac Jones is running all over the field and our guys are laying him out cleanly, and they're giving him shit? I'm like, wait a minute. Last year, you guys hit Zach in a late play, and it was freaking vicious and dirty. And you're giving all this shit because we're hitting Mac Jones cleanly? Like, that was crazy to me. That was pissing me off that they were making all those comments. Like, wait a minute.
Steele, I agree with you, buddy, and I agree with you, Harrison. Show.
My wife just texted me on the phone. My wife said, "Seahawks win." Can I ask, are y'all scared to face the Seahawks? He said, "Can you guys see?"
That's really
that's a really good question because freaking Geno Smith, man. Who would have thought? I would have thought Geno Smith would be okay. I would not have expected him to be actually playing this well. I'm actually very impressed. Geno Smith is playing really good football.
He is, man.
I totally expected him to play well. People give me crap about it, but no, Geno Smith had the tools. He just needed to be coached right and developed right, and that it didn't happen with the Jets. I mean, he did a little bit good, but he needed to go to another team, learn from, like what he was with Eli Manning and everything else, and he was going to be fine. I actually had no worries about it. Sam Darnold, I knew wasn't the guy first time he walked in the room. But let's see. I love Zach, BYU fan.
That's what we were talking about before. Okay. Yeah, now, he was saying it's frustrating, but it was one thing. Is again, if you're a fan of the team, I get it. But
this is the one I wanted to talk about
before.
One of them that I want to talk about the most. What did you guys think of this penalty? Because I have a totally different take than a lot of people.
How about what Robert Saleh thought about the penalty?
We'll start with you, Show, first. If he's here. You hear me?
What did I think about it? Yeah, I'm good, guys. I absolutely hated it. I just think for I think you and I talked about it on the phone briefly at halftime, Gino.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a veteran guy like that, man. You just don't expect him to do that again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that's the part that hurt more than the actual penalty. Just being
Yes.
disciplined enough to know, man, look, I can't do this. I see how they're calling it with the quarterback this year, as far as penalties and late hits. I cannot gamble and take my team out of this. My quarterback needs our help. I just can't do this.
Yes.
I'm not sure what Salah said. If I had to guess at it, I'm sure he was unpleased. Wasn't pleased about it. But
Right.
Salah is a player friendly coach. So in my opinion, he really doesn't hold guys accountable, at least in the public's eye. I don't know what he does
Yeah.
behind closed doors. But if I had to guess, he probably
Right.
say, we have to do better, blah, 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 blah. He kind of dressed it up a little bit, soften the blow, I guess, towards his guys. But no, I was pissed about it, man. Without that penalty, the game is different. The game is completely different without
Agreed.
that penalty.
Agreed. What do you think, Harrison?
Dude, total change of the game. And they asked Robert, like I said, the best example, Robert Saleh after the game. They asked him how he felt on the penalty, and he just shook his head, and he's like, it was a 10-point swing. And he's like, it ended up being 17 if you count the beginning
Right.
of the second half. He's like, it's a
Right.
costly penalty. But then they asked him about the explanation given to him about the JFM penalty. Man, we were talking about this before, Gino. I do the press conferences all the time. So,
Right.
watching the coaches long
Right.
enough, you pick up on the cues. Man,
Right.
he had the most annoyed tone. He basically, so they asked him
Yeah.
how he felt about they asked about how he was given the explanation on JFS penalty. He's like, yeah, he was hit too hard. And he had a look on him where he was just like, fuck that. You can see it. You can see it in the way because he doesn't always, he had like a shake after it. He definitely had it like he was like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like you could hear it in his voice. He had the most annoyed tone. It was garbage. It was a terrible call because he barely hit the guy. So they asked Sheldon Rankins about it at the end of the game too. He totally agreed as well. Sheldon Rankins says he also thought it was a bad call, but he pointed out how, the quarterbacks in the league, his answer was great. He pointed out how the quarterbacks in the league, they're trying to protect them all the time. So you never know what they're going to call and what they're not going to call. This time they called it. But at the same time, I got to give Rankins credit. He said it was the team's job, though, to come back out in the second half and pull out the win, and they did not. So Rankins' answer was perfect because it was exactly like put a bow on it. Like, I disagree with it completely, but those calls are going to happen. You needed to come out in the second half to win, and you didn't. So I completely give Sheldon Rankins the answer of the day. Because that was the perfect.
Nice.
It was on the money.
Nice,
I agree with that. Let's keep going. The Patriots played a calculated, frustrating game, but they played a game that they knew they could win. The defense looks very good, but that same conference has to go to the offense and special. I mean, it's true. I mean, that's what Salah. I mean, you could just tell how frustrated he was about that. Like in his press conference and even on the sideline. That's why I give his pickback coach a lot of credit. Is always giving him the pullback. Thanks for the input. Sounders never saw him at BYU. Okay, I don't know what they were talking about. I guess we're talking about Zach Wilson. And then Sanchez had an incredible line, pumped up the defense, great wide receiver coaching. He did, though. I mean,
that's the biggest thing Zach needs right now. I mean, Zach's got Garrett Wilson. He's got Corey Davis. He's got Denzel Mims and Elijah Moore still here. He's got Breece Hall's going to be coming back next year. We got to get this offensive line figured out. Like, we have to get it figured out because it is not good. And, like, that's why, like Show, you were saying, Laken Tomlinson, he's not playing terrible, but we brought him in to be the Pro Bowler he was. He came into not just a similar, the identical system. Like, that was my big hype on him. I'm like, okay, here's a guy, we're not changing anything. It's literally just come here and do exactly what you've been doing.
Right.
And it hasn't been translated. Yeah.
Question, guys. Do you think he looked that good because he was next to Trent Williams?
That's a freaking good. Okay, I never thought of that. That is a damn good take. Wow. That is a damn
You're talking about one of the best left tackles in the game, right?
And that would explain. Look at Nate Herbig, right? He was looking a lot better before AVT went down. Nate Herbig was pretty bad this week.
Yeah, he was.
So, that's an interesting point, man. I think you might be onto something there. That could be something.
Food for thought.
That could be something. It's definitely food for thought. I give you that because, But again, we got to give
Yeah.
Joe so much credit. He built an out in this contract. So we could technically move, even though we gave Lincoln so
True.
much money, we can move on from him. So that's why my big thing is get Max back, let him and Herbig gain that chemistry together. When AVT comes back, he can play anywhere. So if you want him to be left guard, that's perfect. And you draft that blindside tackle of the future.
Oh,
you take the
Yeah.
best or the second best blindside tackle in the draft. And then maybe with the next pick, you take the second or third best center. And you let them spend a year or two under McGovern, learning. Now you're investing in that offensive line.
Harrison in Italy. What about this?
What's up?
What if we keep scenario?
Give me a scenario.
If Lakin Tomlinson looked that good with Trent Williams, right?
Right.
Then what if we moved AVT to left tackle and just kept Tomlinson? Now we don't have to use a first round pick on a lineman.
AVT's looked pretty decent at left tackle, but we do have to remember blindside tackle's a different position. Like those guys get drafted fourth or fifth
for that
or
specific
10th.
for that specific talent.
So I think AVT could do anything. I definitely think that.
Sure.
We do have to remember at guard he was having an all-pro year. We do have to remember that.
Oh, facts.
He's an all-pro as a
yes,
guard.
Yes.
So
yes,
I just look at it as, man, if Herbig and Max can gain their chemistry together, you could put Lakin back at guard where he thrives next to, and now he can help develop that left tackle because he's there. He can work with him. And then McGovern has proven that when there's a quality line around him, he can be a quality center in the league.
He performs better, yes.
I think you got a pretty good offensive line there.
Yeah, I agree. And
but
then,
AVP left tackle, who knows? Maybe they're considering it.
I think they're considering a lot on the O line right now. But yeah, 10 wins is definitely not out of the question if Brees was here, you know. But honestly, I think if we don't bounce back after the bye, I'm looking at 8. Maybe.
You know what's funny to me? I hear a lot of people like, Brees Hall went down. Like, we're gonna struggle now because of Brees. So they're like putting a huge spotlight on Brees. I agree, but I disagree at the same time. My choice was AVT. You know what I mean? Like without AVT, Brees doesn't have the season. He doesn't have the season that he had without AVT. I think AVT, in my opinion, was at one point the MVP. Prior to injury, was the MVP of this team, man. Like without AVT, you don't get a Brees Hall doing what he was doing. So yes, I'm hurt that Brees Hall is out, and I think the guy's phenomenal. But my first choice, is AVT, man, hands down. That guy was lights out this season. Lights absolutely out.
Oh, losing both of them, dude. I talked about it on my show. I was saying it wasn't even like it was like a punch to the face and then a gut punch. And then they kicked you 5 times while you were down. Like it was rough, man. Like it was, again, like you just said, the best player arguably on our whole team, easily our best offensive lineman, and our offense was going through the running game, and the running game was going through Brees Hall. So it couldn't have been more of a sucker punch for the offense. I like James Robinson. I feel like he didn't play well, but again, he's learning the offense. He mentioned that. He doesn't know the system.
Exactly.
He said that. That was an important thing to mention in his presser. He said he knew nothing of Robert Saleh. That is an interesting. Like everyone else came here because, that's the thing. Everyone else, has like come here because they had experience. He said he knows nothing of this system. He knows nothing with Robert Saleh. So he's literally learning it. So
learning on the fly.
Maybe next week it gets better because I like him. I really do. I feel like he had a lot of potential, especially as a rookie. Like he really showed what he can do.
And let's be honest here, man. Corey Davis will be back too, and Corey Davis has been balling this year, man.
You know what I mean? So important. We were joking about that before. We were saying right when everyone was saying that Corey Davis was a trade option, Robert Saleh was laughing his ass off. Robert Saleh was laughing at all these guys. Like you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You have
no idea.
Like that's crazy.
Stupid? There's no way.
Right.
There's no
way.
Corey
is he's not the wide receiver one, but he's a major component of this offense. And the perfect example with Corey Davis, if you look at him, when he's been healthy, he's shown that he has the yards and the volume and the production that if he was getting the ball more, he would easily be putting up 100 yards a game, easily have a 1,000-yard season, but he ain't running his mouth like freaking Elijah Moore. That's the important thing to point out. He could be having a much bigger season than Moore could be, but he ain't saying shit.
Right.
You know what's crazy, man? If if you guys don't know, I'm huge on Denzel Mims. I'm a Denzel Mims guy. I don't
Mims
understand
killed
for
it
the,
today, bro.
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah, he
understand for
took
the
2
life
hits
of
like a
me why
champ.
we're not using this guy more. But now,
Yeah.
just looking into my crystal ball here, what if Denzel Mims can come into his own? And now you have a
Hey, man.
Corey Davis, a
Oh,
Garrett
yeah.
Wilson, and you know what I mean? These are
I
your top
love
3
it.
receivers.
Oh, I
my
love
God.
it.
Oh,
I
man.
Oh
love
my
it.
God,
And
dude.
then
This-
Elijah, like he could just sit on the bench and suck fumes.
and just rock.
You're right.
and just rock. And just rock. He can sit there and he can read
Yeah.
Antonio Brown's biography.
Dude, he's gonna go out in the same stadium, take off his shirt, and say peace, just like you did Antonio Brown.
Oh
I
God,
can
man.
totally see Elijah Moore doing that. It's going
Right.
there. It's getting
Right.
there.
Yes,
But-
yes.
But this comment had me interesting that changed game because the touchdown and maybe even Bailey Zappi would have came in. If that would have happened, we could have seen Zappi, I think. But Zappi though, I think Zappi is better than Mac in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but it's a definitely quarterback controversy over there. Just like kind of, I'm not saying we have a quarterback controversy yet, but
Well, here's another way to
they
look at
definitely
it.
do.
Here's an interesting one to look at it. Mac
Yeah.
Jones, drafted in that same draft class, he's
Yeah.
been benched. Yet there's
Right.
still conversation that he can be the guy
Agreed too.
because of how young and how much potential he still has. So I think you just apply it to that.
I agree,
Again,
Steele.
We're
Steele,
New
I agree
York
as well.
fans. We have a different perspective. You know, I love it. You know, I get hot
Agreed.
myself. We all
Agreed,
get much
Saunders.
hotter. But you got to look at it just like
Mhm.
that, right? Like even
Simon's
he's
killing
doing
me.
so much worse than Zach.
Somebody
And even they say he has potential. So
football. Yeah, I agree with you, Harrison. What do you think, Show?
Oh yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Whether being honest, guys, whether
Amen,
it was
Matthias. Amen,
Zappy,
Matthias.
whether it was Zappy or Mac Jones, I don't really think we would have seen a profound difference. You know, from a
True,
Jets
Brandon.
perspective. If you look at the yards, man, like their offensive yards were
Agreed.
not that
Mims did
impressive,
look
and we
good.
lost to them today. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
how many yards
right.
did Mac have? Like 110 passing yards or some crap
Mac
like
was
that.
terrible. That's what I'm saying, bro. If you look
Right.
at Zach and you take out all the bad, you said it. People would be like, he freaking had the game.
Right.
So you clean some
Right.
stuff up. I
Right.
mean, he's
Right.
I think Mike had the best point because I didn't even think of that. Like the biggest
Yeah.
knock they've had on him is, oh, he's just a game manager. Well, he
Right.
played bad, but he clearly showed that's not the case.
That is what exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And Matthias
So
made
if-
a really good point as well. I got to give him credit. I think
Yeah.
he's 100% right.
Yeah.
We are evaluating
Right.
Zach this year. So even if he does start
Yeah.
sucking wind, I don't think we're seeing Mike White. I think
Agree,
it's Zach
Matthias.
Wilson make or
Oh
break.
yeah, dude.
Now that's actually been one of my slight
that one.
complaints is sometimes LaFleur calling like some odd plays at bad times. You know what I mean? Like it would be
Yeah,
3rd
man.
and 2, and you know he's calling a run play out of shotgun. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, what is this?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I like it's crazy how things turn. Right. At first it was like eyes all on Ubrick. And then it's kind of like slowly switching again, and it's kind of like putting the eyes onto LaFleur, and I was like,
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know. God, I don't know.
I agree.
Brees Hall and AVT made they covered a lot of stuff up, man.
Dude, I
Like
mean,
Saunders points out, Saunders says, you know, that Zach was big with big receivers with tall hands. He did
Mhm.
throw a decent amount of 50-50 balls.
Right.
That being
Right.
the case, you just mentioned you got guys like Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, and Denzel Mims.
You know what I mean?
That's their thing.
Right,
They
right.
thrive with the
Yes.
contested
High
catch.
point.
So just
Mhm.
put the ball there. Do that.
Right.
Let them come down with it.
well, I guess the thing that I want to say next, because I agree with all you guys. Thanks for all the comments so far, everyone. These have been really great. We appreciate me, Joe Harrison. We appreciate everything. We got 10 more minutes left, guys, and then we'll be hopping off. But I want to know going forward, because we do got Bills week coming up. What do you think is the thing we need to address the most? I'll give you 3 of them. 3 things that we need to address the most, not only going up against the Bills, but even during the bye. What do you guys think? We'll start with Show first.
Number 1 will be penalties.
I couldn't agree more. Yep. What's your second one? If he's there. There we go. What's your second one, Show? Okay.
I think we lost you.
I don't know if we lost him yet.
All right, am I back?
All right. Yes,
Yep.
you're back.
Am I
You're
good?
back. So what's
You're
your
good.
what's your
Lay off
what's
the
your
internet,
second
guys.
one? Yeah.
My-
Get off the phone.
Get off the phone.
Now.
Go outside and play, man.
Exactly.
It's like the old days. Just like the old days.
right.
I don't care.
Go change the oil in my car.
Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly. The
Cut the
kitchen
damn line or water the flowers or something. This isn't a dry heat. This isn't a dry heat.
Oh man, Elmo's got.
But no, guys.
Little guard. Oh man,
Oh,
that's
know,
a score.
So, 99-3. Oh
score.
God, I would love
Holy
that.
crap.
Oh man,
Right?
Crap.
You guys will see me. You guys will see me come on with a Zach Wilson jersey and shit.
Oh, jeez.
But no, man.
You doing the gritty.
Number one.
You doing the gritty. But, all right, what's your second one?
But number one will be number one. Cut out the penalties, guys. Let's just cut it out completely. Number two, I just want Zach to improve, man. Make solid decisions. Just stick to your fundamentals, man. Plant your feet before you release the ball. Stop throwing off your back foot. Stop trying to drag every play out. It's okay to use your, as they call it, your superpowers, to save us on a play or two here and there, but just, you don't have to do it every play. It's okay to lose it down to fight for another day. My third one, I would say my third one would probably be LaFleur just utilizing his playbook to
Agreed.
the defenses,
Yes.
whatever the defense is weak at, exploit it. You know what I mean? I saw someone in the comment just say a minute ago, like we didn't run any screen plays. I know that New England's man heavy, so you really don't want to call a ton of screen plays or on a man defensive team. But just try to find the weakness in whatever that defense can't do and try to exploit it within your offensive plays. And those would be my three things, guys.
What do you think, Harrison?
Yeah, so you mentioned Zach Wilson, and you're 100% spot on. That's what we need to see. We need to see the learning, and that was the biggest thing I liked about him in his rookie year. Like you said, Gino, coming back after the injury, making better decisions. These last 4 games before this week, playing really quality secondaries and not making stupid decisions, and not making bad throws to allow the defense and the team in the running game to win the game. Today, he put a lot more on his back and showed the confidence by not giving up. I think next week, it would be, and that's my take on it. I think next week it would be crazy to expect a major change because he is playing the second best passing defense to the best passing defense. If we see major change, and again, that's like Mike pointed out, we do have to take that into account. Second best passing defense, 355 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Maybe he can clean it up and have only the good of this last game, and then that would be something to really see. But that's what we need to see. Like you said, Show, making the right decisions, making smart calls, knowing when to throw it away and when to go for a check down, and when to take a risk or not take a risk and learn from the mistakes you're making. That's what we do need to see from him. The second thing I'm going to say what we're going to really need to see is the running game, because it was non-existent in this game, and it was clearly one of the biggest problems with the offense. We've seen when Zach, even if we talk about the game manager, he doesn't have to have a huge game. Today he was, because the running game wasn't there. He did have a huge game. He just also did a lot of bad. But next week, it'll be nice to have the running game there, get that going. Again, James Robinson had no familiarity with this system whatsoever. Maybe another, 5 practices under his belt. He'll get better. I don't know what happened with Michael Carter. Maybe he'll have a better game. The third one is that defense has to keep doing what it's doing. Our defense has been unfreaking believable. Again, so many people want to crap on the defense in this game, but you have to remember the situation they were put in, where literally getting the ball at the end of the first half with no field and still holding them to a field goal, literally the offense turning the ball over 3 times, putting them in horrible situations, yet still being in the position somehow at the end of the game to possibly come back and win it. The defense has been lights out since Zach has come back. So if we're going to stand a chance against the Bills, that has to happen because their offense is one of the best in the league. So that's the biggest thing. Defense has to keep being great. Zach, I wouldn't put too much on him again, but maybe he can clean it up. And, he did have a big game, so we know he has that potential. Can he clean that up? And we see a lot more good and lose the bad. And then we need to get a running game going as well. Even though Breece Hall's not there, can't lean on excuses. None of those guys are Breece Hall, but they still got to get the running game going.
I agree 100% with all of you guys are saying. I'm gonna say my last take about this, and then we're gonna head off. We appreciate all the comments, guys. This has been a very fun podcast. It's been awesome. I love doing this with these guys every week after the game. You know what? I really think it's the penalties, because the penalties always, it seems like every time when we get a major penalty at the most major crucial time in the game, we fall apart and we get gassed and everything goes to hell until the last 5 to 7 minutes of the game where we shine in the fourth quarter. That's my personal opinion with that. Number two, I think Salah and LaFleur, I've noticed a lot on the sidelines. He just keeps yelling so much in his headset. And I can only think of, he's talking to so many coaches. Like, I get that everyone's kind of like on the same network, but man, I think LaFleur and Salah are just not on the same wavelength. He says he is a lot, but overall, they need to get it together on that offense. Spread the ball more, get the running game going again. Tight ends, wide receivers, you got to get everybody. I'm seeing all these different teams, in the offense, and I'm like, why can't the Jets do that? I get everything is a learning curve. I get we're a different system, but for me, I want to see it more open. And the third one, before I get to the third one, I think overall the defense is great. I defense is great. There's nothing I got on that except the penalties. But the third one is like, maybe they need to go on the bye week. This is me. I think they need more bonding. I think everyone needs more bonding. You know what? On the bye week, everyone takes a trip. Go take a trip somewhere, and they all need to get on the same wavelength. Because of all the stuff that's been happening lately with all these players, they need more bonding more than ever. Because this is just like one of the guys said. I forgot it was Saunders Clark or Mike or Steel Stone. One of them said that this is a Super Bowl caliber team. Like, we're in the potential of having one, and we are. Like, it's been great to see us win, but we need to get to that level, and we all need to be on the same page. That's why I think they need to do what they need to do. Shoot, go to David Buster's or something. I don't fucking care. Just get it together. But overall, guys, thank you for coming on the Italy Jet post-game show on Everything NYJ, the show. Harrison, where can they find you guys?
Yes, you guys know you can find me on Twitter at MYJetsTF Media. I'd love if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. It's right
Definitely.
down here. It's the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. I do my live show on Mondays at 7 p.m. Please be there, just like this. We talk it out in the chat. I give you guys my takes, have guests a lot. We have a really, really awesome time. And then I try to bring content out throughout the week. So, yeah, please, if you guys can, if you could subscribe on YouTube to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Much appreciated.
What about you, Show?
Okay, guys, you can find me stalking Zach Wilson for the next week or two. I'm just kidding. I won't stalk him. But you guys can find me.
You'd be like, hey, I saw those pics, young blood.
Right.
You guys can find me on right?
I'm watching you.
Oh my God,
clean
man.
that shit up.
But no, guys, you can find.
I love that. Oh, my God.
Right? Creeping from underneath his bed at night, Zach.
Right.
Oh my God! But no, man. You guys can find me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. Also, you can find me here on YouTube. I would greatly appreciate it if you guys could sub and like and strike up some conversations and tune into that. I also have an account on IG and TikTok, but I'm really not that active there. But I do have an account, and of course, it's the what you guys see on the screen, the Jet Show without a W at the end. And if you guys, man, want to come in and have some fun with us, rock out, and I support these two guys here heavily, man, on everything they do. And if you guys want, man, come on in, check us out, man, and we keep this thing going. I have a prediction though for today.
Okay.
Let's see if I get it. Let's see if I get it right. Okay. Green Bay is going to upset Buffalo.
Ooh, I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right.
Dude, that would be wonderful for
think
us.
about it. We lost this game. Now they're at 5-2. We're still only one game out. Like, that's the thing. People forget we had a 4-game winning streak. This sucks that loss we had, but man, we're still only 5-3. We're still sitting very good. We double that. We're 10-6.
Right.
It's
tight. This is a tight.
Let's go Green. Let's go Green Bay.
Packers, let's go Aaron Rodgers.
Right. All right, guys. So you can follow me at Everything NYJ and Italy Jet on all social media platforms. I have a bunch of shows every single day except Tuesdays. But this week I will have a show with Jets Chaos, and also tomorrow we'll be having a Monday night show with what happened today. But you can follow me. You can follow the show. You can follow Harrison Glazer. Thank you for spending time with us on your Sunday night. Have a beer for me. Have a steak for me. And for these guys, go Jets. Let's bounce back against Buffalo. You guys all have a great night.